2021's Dune was one of the single most transformative movie-going experiences of my entire life. Growing up as an MCU superfan through middle and high school, I was trained that big-budget blockbusters were supposed to fit one specific aesthetic. Muted color palettes, rushed CGI, overly quippy dialogue, and ironic self-referential humor had all become the expectation every time I went to see a movie with an $100+ million budget. But Dune was different. By the time Paul uttered his last
desert power,
and Chani turned to him and goes,
"This is only the beginning,"
and the credits started to roll, I sat back in sheer and utter disbelief. This is what all those people meant when they first described watching Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Lord of the Rings, and now Denis Villeneuve's Dune. It felt like I just witnessed the newest chapter in cinematic history begin. I didn't just watch a movie, I was teleported, transported to the masterfully crafted, meticulously thought out world of Dune. Call me Nicole Kidman because I went somewhere I've never been before, not just entertained, but somehow reborn. Dune was such a breath of fresh air. In the same year that we got Black Widow and Fast and the Furious 9, suddenly here was a movie where the bad guy looks like this. And he talks like this.
Your son is dead, your concubine is dead. Tonight the house of Atreides falls.
And he does this.
My desert. My Arrakis. My Dune.
And not once did the film ever feel like it needed to insert Leto Atreides sarcastically pointing at him and saying, "Hey, who invited the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man?" They played all of it completely straight. They trusted the audience to follow them down this weird, barren rabbit hole, and in the end created one of the most memorable and iconic villains in sci-fi history. This movie completely floored me, and I was so excited to do what I always do after I see a great movie, which is talk about it incessantly with all of my friends. So I was really shocked when people close to me saw it, and the common reaction was, "Yeah, that was pretty, but it wasn't a good movie. Absolutely nothing happened in it. Sure, it's good, but how can you call it a perfect movie? It doesn't have an ending." And all I could say was, "Oh, what? Did we not watch the same movie? Nothing happens. We just watched one of the most narratively captivating political dramas wrapped in one of the most sensationally stunning sci-fi fantasy aesthetics ever put to screen." The scene between Leto and Paul, beautifully performed by Oscar Isaac and Timothée Chalamet, is so endlessly moving with characters who the viewer actually cares about in ways that aren't typically seen in movies at this scope. Because of this tender depiction of humanity within and between Dune's characters, the later fall of House Atreides not only feels like the fall of an empire, but also feels like the destruction of your own family. And I mean, how can you not watch in amazement as Gurney leads the Atreides army into war against the Harkonnens? Nothing happens. Give me a break. Everything happens. I think 2021's Dune is a perfect 10 out of 10 film, and if that had been the end of it, I would have been disappointed that we wouldn't see more from this amazing world, but completely satisfied with the achievement of cinema that we got. I saw the movie twice in theaters before it was announced that the sequel had been greenlit, and the second it was, the world felt like the end of Return of the Jedi. To say that I was hyped for Dune Part 2 would be a severe understatement. After some time, the sequel was finally announced and the wait began. I'd rather put my hand in the box than have to wait for Dune Part 2 again. First a delay, then they moved the release date forward, then there were 2 strikes and another major delay. Then the movie was pushed forward again by a week, and suddenly the movie was a month away and I found myself in possession of 2 tickets to AMC's fan-first IMAX screening of Dune Part 2. It was really happening. As the movie began, I was thrown back into the world of Arrakis, smiling from ear to ear, but truthfully, as the character drama went on, I couldn't help but think, well, this is really just more of the same stuff. I felt like I was watching an incredibly good movie, but missing the feeling of pure immersion that the first one brought to the table. That was until... when Paul climbed up onto that sand dune and the thumper began to thump, with the Furman standing in the wings, watching with bated breath. When we see the sandworm coming from the distance and watch in sheer and utter awe as the camera doesn't cut away, doesn't move. When the worm finally reaches him and he struggles, but inevitably the hook attaches to that scale, and Hans Zimmer's score begins to swell, and the classic Dune wail is heard, and the Mujahideen begins to rise and my jaw drops to the floor, I knew this wasn't just some movie living up to the hype. I knew this scene was coming. It was in the trailer, but no amount of marketing material could have prepared me for the sheer majesty of that sequence. From there, the movie was pedal to the metal, nonstop, pure, unbridled cinema. The final act of this film can only be described as a cinematic feast. When the sandworms appear through the cloud and you finally watch as House Atreides harness the desert power, I don't know how anything in a movie theater could ever top that again. Greg Fraser's cinematography here is absolutely next level, even for him. And this is the guy who shot the first Dune movie and The Batman. What Fraser is able to pull off in the Gladiator arena scene had my jaw on the floor. They shot the entire thing with infrared lenses, which gave the lighting a mesmerizing, otherworldly, supernatural quality. That aesthetic choice alone made the scene incredibly impactful and visually memorable. But then they hit you with a shot of the Lady Jesuits walking into the arena from a room with regular light, and you watch as that light source fades out and the infrared light takes over in a seamless transition. It's a touch that I doubt few people will consciously notice, but one that sells the realism of the scene so well. Fraser is really one of the best, most creative DPs working today. The cast is also working at a completely different level. I have a really bad time with names in movies, and often when I watch something, I feel like I typically just see the actor giving a performance. There's a reason why Warner decided to push the movie back when the cast was unable to promote it. These are huge A-list actors, but there wasn't a single moment where I thought, wow, I'm watching an actor act. I wasn't watching Timmy, I was watching Paul. I wasn't watching Zendaya, I was watching Chani. Bravo to Austin Butler. This guy could have had a very lucrative career playing the Tom Cruise type, but here he has proved that he's more than just the Elvis guy from Zoe 101. Here he completely transforms and loses himself, and I was blown away by his performance. Probably the best career move he's ever going to make. While all the performances were truly amazing, it was star Timothée Chalamet who delivered the performance of his career. The scene where he gets up in front of the Furman is breathtaking. The way he's so perfectly able to ride the line between all-powerful messiah and scared little kid is just crazy. He performs Paul's performance so specifically and so subtly that you can't help but just be utterly blown away. It's insane that this man went from Wonka to this.
So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that, reverse it.
This movie is pure spectacle, but it's also so thematically rich. If the first movie is about fear, I think this movie is about power, and all that comes with it. The two duels that bookend each film showcase perfectly how Denis Villeneuve is able to bake such profound subtext into every fiber of the story. These movies are truly the height of what visual storytelling can be, and Villeneuve deserves all the praise in the world for delivering one of, if not the most narratively captivating, visually stunning pair of films ever made.